And that is why next year, we are doubling down on digital transformation. Now, any questions?
Thank you for the opportunity. My question is for Adaize.
Did he just... Chai?
I'm sorry. What did you just call me?
Adaize ma.
Young man, you may call me Mrs. Balogun White. You may call me Dr. Balogun White. If even that is too heavy for your tongue to call, just call me Ma or Madam. But never my first name. Not in this hall, not in front of your colleagues, not anywhere in this building.
Before we continue this story, let me ask you something. Have you ever said something you thought was completely normal, only to watch a whole room turn against you in seconds? Stay till the end, because this story is not just about a microphone. It's about a lesson that cost one man his career twice, and the woman who taught him what respect really costs. If you've ever confused confidence with carelessness, this one is for you. What kind of culture teaches a man to be confident and then punishes him publicly for the very confidence it built? Was it truly disrespect, or was it a young officer carrying the manners of his training into a moment no handbook had prepared him for? And if the company itself declared that everyone should address each other by first name, why was he the only one left standing in shame? Before we continue, if you enjoy stories about workplace pride, hidden class lines, and the price we pay for not reading a room, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Tales by Dmax brings you these stories every week, the ones that teach without shouting. Tobe was the fourth child of a school teacher in Suka. His mother sold akara by the roadside before dawn so he could wear a clean uniform. She used to say, "Tobena, one day you will sit where big people sit. Just don't forget where you started." He carried that sentence like a talisman through university, through NYSC, through 2 years of hustling before Crown and Anchor Merchant Bank finally called him for an offer letter. On his first Monday, 40 new intakes sat in the glass-walled training hall on the 4th floor, notepads open, nerves tight, suits ironed within an inch of their lives. A sharp woman in a grey blazer, Mrs. Folashade Nwachukwu, head of talent and culture, stood at the front with a clicker in her hand. "Welcome to Crown and Anchor," she said, smiling. "Before we talk about your schemes, your targets, your KPIs, we need to talk about culture. This is what separates us from every other bank on the street." She clicked to a slide that read, "One team, one voice, no titles. Here," she continued, "we do not believe in Mr., Mrs., Sir, Ma. We are not the civil service. From the managing director to the newest intern, everybody calls everybody by their first name. It builds equality, it builds openness, it removes fear. If you see the MD in the lift tomorrow, you do not say 'Good morning, Ma.' You say 'Good morning, Adiazi.' That is our culture. That is Crown and Anchor." A ripple went through the room, half amusement, half disbelief. Beside Tobe, a young woman named Chamaka grinned and whispered, "Finally, a company that gets it. No unnecessary hierarchy. I love this place already." But 2 rows back, a much older new intake, Rashid Suleiman, 51 years old, joining as a risk consultant after a full career elsewhere, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Excuse me," Rashid said, raising a hand. "With respect, Ma, is there no exception? Some of us were raised in homes where addressing an elder by their bare name is a taboo, not because of pride, but because of upbringing." Mrs. Nwachukwu smiled, didn't move. "I understand, Mr. Suleiman, but this is company-wide policy, applicable to everyone, regardless of age or background. Consider it part of adjusting to our environment. Nobody here is exempt, not you, not the MD, not me." Rashid nodded slowly, but the discomfort stayed etched on his face. He said nothing more. What could he say? The letter offering him the job was already signed. The salary was already 3 times his last one. Some battles, he decided quietly, are not worth losing a paycheck over. Tobe, watching, felt only excitement. This is what STB was like too. This is what modern banking looks like. This is progress. After the session, the new intake scattered into the hallway, already testing the new role like children testing a swimming pool. Adiaze walked past me just now. I almost called her Ma out of instinct. Then I remembered, no, it's Adiaze. Get used to it fast or you look old-fashioned. Not everyone treated the new freedom the same way. Tobe noticed it within his first month. Some colleagues, raised with strong home training, still lowered their voice and softened their tone whenever they addressed anyone clearly older than them, even while technically obeying the first name policy. They would say, "Sorry, oh Baba Ganiyu," or "Good afternoon, Mama Chubinkom," folding respect into the name itself, the way you might bow your head even while shaking a hand. Others saw no need for such softness at all. To them, a first name was a first name, flat, equal, without ceremony, whether you are speaking to a 23-year-old intern or a 58-year-old operations manager. Policy is policy, they like to say. If Oga wanted respect, Oga would have written title required in the handbook. Tobe watched both camps and without quite realizing it, drifted towards the second. It felt modern, it felt confident, it felt like the STB energy he'd been raised on. Loud, proud, unbothered by old rules. The night before his first full week on the trading floor, he stood in front of his mirror in his one good shirt and whispered to himself, "I will not just work here, I will belong here. I will build a name so strong that no one will ever look down on where I came from." He did not know yet that Crown and Anchor's official policy and Crown and Anchor's unofficial rules were two different documents, one printed in the staff handbook and one written invisibly in the raised eyebrows, the cold silences, and the closed doors of people who mattered far more than any slide in an induction deck. Ikanaduru found him in the elevator, grinning like an old friend. "You are the new boy from Nsukabi? I like your energy," Ikena said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Don't let this place scare you. I'll show you how things really work here." He took him to lunch. He introduced him to the right people. He laughed loudly at Tobe's jokes and made him feel for the first time since resumption that he mattered. "Relax," Ikena would say. "This bank looks stiff on the outside, but once you are inside the circle, everybody is casual. Trust me, I know this place better than anybody." Tobe believed him completely. He did not yet know that Ikenadru had watched 3 other bright young men rise faster than him over the years and had personally made sure none of them rose all the way to the top. Mama Chidima, the 60-year-old office matron who had worked at Crown and Anchor since before most of the young staff were born, was addressed one morning by a fresh graduate trainee. "Chidima, bring my tea." Mama Chidima froze, tray in hand. "I beg your pardon?" "Sorry, I mean, our culture here is first name, no be so," the trainee said, smiling, unaware of the insult in his correction. She reported it to HR. HR's response was simple. "Our policy encourages a flat first name culture across all levels. We cannot discipline someone for following policy." Mama Chidima went back to her tray in silence. Tobe, watching from his desk, felt something twist in his stomach, but said nothing. Mr. Bello, a 58-year-old operations manager, was told by an intern serving her one-year placement, "Bello, abeg, drop that file for me." Mr. Bello smelled thinly that day. 2 weeks later, the intern's appraisal mysteriously carried 3 damning remarks that ended her chances of full employment. When she complained, management shrugged again. Everyone here is equal by policy. Perhaps her performance simply wasn't strong enough. Nobody investigated further. Tobe overheard the conversation in the men's room and thought, so the culture protects the junior on paper, but the senior always finds a way to win in private. The worst one involved Ikena himself and Rashid Suleiman, quiet and dignified even 3 years into the job. In a strategy meeting, Ikena turned to Rashid and said, "Rashid, no vex, but that your report is late again." "It's Mr. Suleiman or simply Rashid," said with respect, "if you don't mind. I have never once called you by your name without warmth, Ikena. I would appreciate the same," Rashid replied evenly. Ikena laughed it off in front of the room. It's just our culture now. Everybody should learn to loosen up small, old man." The room chuckled nervously. Rashid said nothing further, but something in his eyes closed like a door. When he raised it privately with HR afterwards, the response was the same tired script. "Everyone here is equal by policy, sir. We cannot discipline anyone for using someone's first name." Tobe watched all of this and felt the first crack of doubt about his mentor, but Ikena quickly buried it by recommending him for a high-visibility client project the very next week. The doubt went quiet. The admiration stayed loud. Ngozi Adeyemi, a compliance officer 2 years ahead of Tobe, cornered him one evening by the water dispenser. "Tobe, I need to ask you something," she said. "Why do you talk to Mama Chidima the way Ikena does? Why do you laugh when he calls Rashid by name like they were mates in secondary school?" It's just how we relate here now, Ngozi. Times have changed. Gen Z, remember? Civilization, Tobe said, shrugging. Civilization? Ngozi tilted her head. Or is it that Ikenna has taught you to mistake rudeness for confidence? You don't understand him the way I do, Tobe said, a little too sharply. Ikenna has done more for my career in 6 months than anyone else in this bank. Ngozi didn't argue further that evening. She simply looked at him the way an older sister looks at a boy walking toward a hole he cannot yet see. It happened during the year-end strategy presentation in front of the full executive committee. Ikenna, 2 days before, had pulled Tobe aside. When you present tomorrow, greet Mama Chidima warmly when she brings in the refreshments. Call her by her name. Thank her properly like a big man does. It shows confidence to the board. Trust me, they'll respect you for it. Tobe, eager to impress, did exactly that. In front of 12 directors, he said loudly, "Thank you, Chidima, you are the real MVP of this bank." The room did not laugh the way Ikenna had promised. One elderly director, a personal friend of Mama Chidima's late husband, stood up mid-meeting. This young man just addressed a woman old enough to be his mother by her bare name in front of this board, like she is his mate. Is this the caliber of young banker we are now producing? Tobe's presentation collapsed into humiliated silence. Afterwards, he confronted Ikenna. "You told me it would impress them." Ikenna spread his hands innocently. "I never told you to call her that, Tobe. Why would I sabotage myself by sabotaging you? Maybe you misunderstood me." That evening, Ngozi found the truth by accident. Ikenna's own assistant had overheard the entire instruction 2 days earlier and mentioned it to her, not knowing it was a secret. Ngozi walked into Tobe's office holding the evidence like a small, heavy stone. "She set you up," she said quietly, deliberately. Tobe sat with his head in his hands. "I know," he admitted. "I know what he did." "Then report him," Ngozi said. "It's not that simple, Ngozi. Ikenna is the reason I got the client project. He's the reason 3 directors even know my name. If I fight him, I lose everything he built for me." "He didn't build anything for you, Tobe. He built a leash." I need him," Tobe said, voice breaking slightly. "Not everyone who hurts you is your enemy." Ngozi looked at him a long moment. "And not everyone who smiles at you is your friend." She didn't walk away. "I'm not leaving you to figure this out alone," Ngozi said, sitting beside him. "I've seen what men like you cannot do to good people, Tobe. They convince you the poison is medicine. But I promise you this, whatever happens, however long it takes you to see clearly, I will be here." "Why?" Tobe asked, genuinely confused. "Because somebody stood by me once when I couldn't see straight either," she said simply. "Consider this me paying it forward." Over the following months, Ikenna's tricks began to catch up with him in small, cruel installments. 2 other juniors he had manipulated finally compared notes and reported him together. Rashid's quiet complaints resurfaced when a new HR director reviewed old files and found a pattern too consistent to ignore. He was quietly moved off the star client accounts, his office got smaller, and his invitations to executive lunches stopped. Meanwhile, Tobe, chasing but alive, began rebuilding his name brick by brick, this time watching, listening, learning the unwritten rules instead of assuming them. The office split into camps once the boardroom humiliation and Ikenna's pattern of manipulation became open gossip. Some staff whispered that Tobe was a victim of Ikenna's cruelty. Others insisted Tobe should have known better, that no policy document excuses common sense. A few older staff grumbled that this everybody call everybody by name culture was eating away at the respect African tradition demanded, pointing to Rashid and Mama Chidima as proof. A handful of the younger ones, Chamaka loudest among them, called it progress, civilization, evolution, insisting titles were colonial hangovers anyway. In the middle of that noise, Tobe walked up to Ikenna's new smaller office. "You used me," Tobe said, quiet but firm. "Twice now. You used my hunger to look big in front of people who never even liked you." "Grow up, Tobe. This is corporate life." "No," Tobe said. "This is the last conversation we will ever have as anything other than strangers." He turned in his resignation letter 3 weeks later, walked out of Crown and Anchor's glass doors and did not look back. 2 years later, in Abuja, Tobena Okafor stood on a small stage at Capital Bridge Bank's annual dinner holding a plaque that read, "Regional Head Corporate Banking, under 35. In the front row, clapping harder than anyone else, sat Ngozi Adeyemi, now happily married with a toddler on her hip. "You did it," she mouthed to him across the room, eyes shining. He mouthed back, "We did it." Abuja gave him what Lagos never could. No Ikenna whispering false comfort in his ear. No Mama Chidima's hot eyes reminding him of who he almost became. No boardrooms where laughter died the moment he opened his mouth.
Just quiet mornings, honest work, and a peace he had never known he was missing. No fear, no pretending, no performing confidence he didn't actually feel. For the first time in his career, Tobe learned the difference between arrogance and dignity, between noise and respect, between being loud and being seen. He met Amarachi Nosu at a leadership retreat in Kaduna, a soft-spoken HR consultant with a sharp mind and sharper boundaries. Instead of flattering his ego the way Ikenna once had, she challenged his blind spots gently and directly. Instead of using culture and casuality as a leash to control people, she taught him that respect was a language you learned before you spoke it, not one you assumed everyone shared. Instead of building herself up by tearing others down, she built bridges, mentoring young interns, correcting elders with grace, never once raising her voice to prove a point. "You listen more than you used to," she told him one evening over suya and cold maltina. "Somebody taught me the hard way," he said, smiling faintly, saying nothing more. He never told her about the town hall, the auditorium full of mamas, the microphone shaking in his hand. He never told her about Mama Chidima, or the boardroom, or Ikenna's betrayal, or the whispered vow he made to himself in front of a cracked mirror in Suka. Amarachi knew a confident, careful, respectful man. She did not yet know the boy who had once stood up in a packed hall and called his managing director by her first name. Lagos, it is said, is a small city pretending to be a big one. And somewhere in its gathering halls, fate was already setting a stage where every ghost of Tobe's past would finally stand up together, one microphone at a time. 3 years into their relationship, Tobe and Amarachi had settled into something steady and warm. Sunday mornings meant jollof rice and old fella records. Friday evenings meant long drives with the windows down, talking of nothing and everything. Capital Bridge is merging with a Lagos institution, Tobe told her one night, scrolling his phone. There's a joint town hall next month before the gala dinner. Big names, big questions. Should I be nervous? She teased. Never, he said, kissing her forehead. I've got nothing left to prove. He believed that right up until the night of the merger town hall.
The Echo Convention Center glittered with chandeliers, cameras, and old rivalries dressed as handshakes. The merger town hall filled the main hall, staff from both banks, executives on stage, a live feed for branches nationwide. Tobe, now a confident regional head, sat with Amarachi in the third row when a familiar voice slid into the seat beside him. Tobe, long time, Ikenna Duru, thinner, older, now a culture integration consultant for the merger, leaned in with the old grin still intact. Listen, when the floor opens for questions, ask something. Show them Capital Bridge has sharp people too. And don't worry about formality here. Adaeze has completely relaxed since those days. She actually prefers when people speak to her like an equal now. First name and everything. She's changed. Trust me, I work with her directly. Tobe hesitated. You sure? Would I lie to you twice? Ikenna laughed, clapping his shoulder exactly like the elevator years ago. Minutes later, the mic came around. Tobe stood, chest tightening with old and new confidence tangled together. Thank you for the opportunity, he began. My question is for Adaeze. The murmuring started immediately, sharper this time, because half the room recognized him from the merger briefing documents and the other half simply recognized the mistake. On stage, Adaeze Balogun White, easy smile stiffened exactly the way it had years before. I'm sorry, what did you just call me? Tobe's stomach dropped as the room's temperature seemed to fall with it. Adaeze, he repeated, glancing sideways. Ikenna's grin had vanished, replaced with something colder, more satisfied. Now it made sense. This was not new advice. This was the same trick dressed in new clothes, 3 years and 1 merger later. Say it again. Adaeze, Tobe said, quieter now, already knowing. Let me help you, she said, stepping toward the edge of the stage, voice carrying across 300 seats and a nationwide feed. But never, she continued, voice rising, my first name. Not in this hall, not on a live stream reaching every branch in this country, not anywhere near me. Laughter rippled, cameras rose, phones tilted toward him. You people, Adaeze said, scanning the room now, always mistake familiarity for confidence. This is exactly why standards keep collapsing in this industry. People without home training forcing their way into rooms they do not understand.
"Ma, with respect," Tobe started, humiliation crawling up his neck. "I did not..." "Respect," she cut him off, sharp and public. "You don't know the meaning of the word. Sit down." Amarachi rose beside him before he could sink back into his chair. "With respect, Ma," Amarachi said, voice steady and clear enough to carry, "before you finish embarrassing him on a national live stream, you should ask the man sitting 3 rows behind us why he told my fiancé 30 minutes ago that you now prefer to be addressed informally." Every head turned toward Ikenna. "Ask him," Amarachi continued, voice continuing, steady and cold as ice. "Ask him why this is the second time in 3 years he has quietly armed this same man with the exact information needed to humiliate him in front of a room full of people. Ask him what he gains from it." A murmur rippled through the crowd, heads turning fully now, phones swinging toward Ikenna's frozen face as his practiced smile finally completely collapsed. Amarachi took Tobe's hand and walked him out through the side doors, past the murmuring crowd, past the phone still recording, into the cool Lagos night. He said nothing in the car. His pride bled quietly, humiliation sitting heavy in his chest like a stone. At home, sitting on the edge of their bed, Tobe finally told her everything. Crown and Anchor's rigid unspoken rules, the induction hall where the no titles policy was first announced, Rashid's quiet discomfort, Mama Chudema's hurt eyes, the boardroom disaster, Ikenna's charm and betrayal, Ngozi's loyalty, and the whispered vow from a cracked mirror in Nsukka. "I never told you," he said, "because I was ashamed, because I thought if you knew who I used to be, you'd see me differently." Amarachi took his face in her hands. "I see a man who learned. That's not shame, Tobe. That's growth. And I see a man who was set up twice." The next morning, Amarachi drove straight to the merger's temporary office, where Ikenna, still technically employed as a culture consultant, kept a small desk near the boardroom. "You did this on purpose, forgery," she said, voice shaking with fury as she stormed past reception. "Twice. You humiliated him twice for your own broken ego, and this time you did it in front of the entire country." "I don't know what you're talking about," Ikenna said, backing up, hands raised. "Everyone in that hall heard me name you. Everyone with a phone has already seen it." Amarachi grabbed the edge of his desk, leaning in. "You are finished, Ikenna. Do you understand me? Finished." Arize, Tobe, arriving moments later, grabbed her arm gently. "Amarachi, please stop. This isn't worth it. Let his own life handle it. Don't let him take anything else from us, not even our peace." Office security and 2 startled colleagues moved quickly, stepping between Amarachi and Ikenna, guiding them apart before voices could turn into something worse. "Ma, please, this is a workplace," one guard said gently to Amarachi. "Let us handle it from here."
Before leaving, Amarachi turned back one last time, voice now cold and perfectly controlled. "If I ever hear your name near his again, Ikenna, in a boardroom, at a town hall, in a whisper, I will make sure the whole industry finally sees exactly what you are. This is your only warning." Within a week, clips from the town hall, including Amarachi's public exposure of Ikenna, had reached over 3 million views. The merger committee terminated Ikenna's consulting contract with immediate effect, pending internal review. Doors that once opened for his charm now stayed firmly shut. He sat alone in his 1-bedroom flat in Sululere, phone buzzing with messages he no longer wanted to answer. Late that night, Ikenna stared at his own reflection in a cracked bathroom mirror, an accidental, painful echo of the one Tobe once stood before with hope in his chest years ago in Nsukka. He remembered every junior he had manipulated, every complaint from Rashid he had laughed off, every young man he had built up only to knock down when they threatened to outgrow him. For the first time in years, a single unwelcome thought settled in his chest. I was never the smart one in any of those rooms. I was just the loudest failure who never got caught in time. That evening, Amarachi found Tobe on their balcony, staring at the Lagos skyline. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I lost control back there. That's not who I want to be for you." "You defended me," Tobe said. "Nobody has ever done that before, not like that." "I love you," she said simply. "Loving you means protecting you,
but it also means knowing when to stop. I'll do better. He turned to face her fully, taking both her hands. Amarachi, I spent years thinking respect was something you announced loudly, wore like a suit, performed for a room. You taught me it's something you build quietly, every single day, with the people who matter. He knelt, ring box trembling slightly in his palm. Marry me, not the man who once stood up in a hall and called his managing director by her first name, the man you helped him become. Tears streaming, she said, yes, 1,000 times yes. At their engagement party months later, Tobe stood, glass raised, eyes finding Ngozi in the crowd. There is a woman in this room who stayed when staying cost her nothing to lose, but chose to stay anyway. Ngozi Adeyemi, you saw who I almost became and loved me enough to tell me the truth. Thank you for never giving up on me. The room erupted in applause. Ngozi wiped her eyes, laughing through the tears. Ngozi had, by then, become head of compliance at her own bank, with a husband who adored her and a daughter who called her the strongest woman I know. She often told her team, loyalty without honesty is just cowardice wearing a friendly face. Her staff listened. They always did. Years later, at another industry function, Adieze Balogun White quietly moved to an advisory role after the merger scandal, her once untouchable name now spoken with caution rather than fear, watched from a distant table as Tobena Okofor accepted an industry leadership award, Amarachi and Ngozi cheering loudest in the crowd. She did not approach him. She simply lowered her eyes, finished her drink, and left before the applause ended. A woman who had finally learned, far too late, that power without humility eventually meets its own reflection. The key lesson is to approach unfamiliar cultures and workplaces with humility, observation, and respect. Organizational policies may differ from real-world expectations, so confidence without awareness can lead to mistakes. Respect is easy to give but difficult to regain once lost, and using culture as an excuse for cruelty will eventually have consequences. Observe before assuming, respect others regardless of cultural differences, and remember that reality eventually catches up with everyone. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us in the comments, do you think Ikenaduru deserved a second chance, or did he get exactly what he earned? Share this video with someone who needs to hear that reality always catches up eventually. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to watch our next video. Bye!